Hey, welcome to another piece of peace today. Started off this morning, as usual, gathering my Bible, coming to sit with God. And as I went downstairs to grab a cup of coffee, I could see how incredibly and easily distracted I become. I see something that needs to get done, and I start moving into a plan for the day in my mind as I'm thinking. So heating up my coffee, and I realize the Lord's just like, Janelle, do you see how fast you go there? Do you see how fast the distraction just comes in and grabs a hold of you? Planning out my day in my head as my coffee's heating up. Yes, I'm one of those people that heat my coffee up in the microwave. And, but brings me right back. No shame. Just come here. Come here because I have so much more for you than this. Grab those thoughts. Come back to me. I was thanking him for the day yesterday. A couple days ago, I talked about how the Lord was expressing to me how each person is made is in his image, and how if I have a critical judgment against somebody, it's coming against his image in that person, and that is not a correct perspective, and how he just sort of brought me to this humble place of repenting of that and apologizing to somebody, a couple people actually, and then seeing the beauty. I saw their faces soften when I was able to own my own thing and offer to them encouragement and grace and a blessing. And I think to myself, how many of us are missing out on that experience? I mean, God didn't have to let me see. I actually saw in their facial expressions how how in being humbled enough that the Lord was able to free them from being hostage to my unforgiveness or my critical judgment, and that was such a blessing. I mean, it really literally brought me to tears to see and to realize the pain that even my thoughts and my attitudes caused in somebody. Challenges me daily now to, as I go throughout the day, when a thought comes up, just to grab a hold of it and go, Lord, I give that to you because I'm sure my perspective is off, and I really want your blessing to be on, because they are made in your image. They are made in his image. And as I started to walk through the morning, he brought me into different ways of his provisions and how to view people from a perspective of them being image bearers of the creator of the universe. He brings us incredible provision. And as we provided me with the ability to see that, provided me with the ability to give my thoughts to him, provided me with everything I need. He's just the master provider. Which brings us into our devotion today, Our Daily Bread. Download the app or order the book online, little booklet. We're going to be reading in Psalm 104. We're going to start in verse 10 and go through 18. I'm going to pick up a couple more verses, like 24 through 26 and again 33. It'll all tie together. As we start, Psalm 104, verse 10. He makes springs pour water into the ravines, and it flows between the mountains. They give water to all the beasts of the field. The wild donkey quench their thirst. The birds of the air nest by the waters. They sing among the branches. He waters the mountains from the upper chambers, and the earth is satisfied by the fruit of his work. He makes grass grow for the cattle and plants for man to cultivate, bringing forth food from the earth, wine that gladdens the heart of man, and oil to make his face shine, and bread that sustains his heart. The trees of the Lord are well watered, the cedars of Lebanon that he planted. There the birds make their nests, and the stork has its home in the pine trees. The high mountains belong to the wild goats, and the crags are a refuge for the conies. It says, how many are your works, O Lord? In wisdom you made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. There is the sea, vast and spacious, teeming with creatures beyond number, living things, both large and small. He goes down. I jump over to 33 here, and he says, I will sing to the Lord all my life. I will sing praise to my God as long as I live. That is a big piece. As we sit in gratitude for his provisions, there's just an outward expression of gratitude towards him. How could we not praise him for all that he's done? However, I do believe that provisions don't always just come appear like that. Like, I need this and it comes. I believe that God uses us to provide his provisions. God uses his creation to provide for our provisions, to provide for us. The devotion reads this: A World of Provision is the title of it. It says, it's written by Patricia Raybon. It's 2 a.m. when Nadia, a farmer of sea cucumbers, never even knew there was such a thing, walks into the roped-off pen in the ocean shallows near Madagascar village to harvest her crop. The early hour doesn't bother her. Life was very hard before I started farming, she says. I didn't have any source of income. Now, as a member of the Marine Protection Program called Velandrake, meaning to live by the sea, Nadia sees her income growing and stabilizing. We thank God that this project appeared, she adds. It appeared in a large part because God's creation provided what their project needs, a natural supply of sea life. In praise of our providing God, the psalmist wrote, He makes grass grow for the cattle and plants for people to cultivate. As well, there is a sea teeming with creatures beyond number, living things both large and small. It's a wonder, indeed, how God's wondrous creation also provides for us. The humble sea cucumber, for example, helps form a healthy marine food chain. Careful harvesting of sea cucumbers, in turn, grants Nadia and her neighbors with a living wage. Nothing is random in God's creation. He uses it all for his glory and our good. Thus, I will sing to the Lord all my life, says the psalmist. We too can praise him today as we ponder all he provides. It says, in what ways does God provide for you through his creation? How can you thank him for that today? It says, O Creator God, we're humbled by your vast creation and all the ways you provide for our needs. There's a season in my life where my husband and I were in a very awful motor accident, and for a series of months and months and months, we were unable to provide for ourselves. And in that, we watched God, through his people, bring about all of our needs. All of them, from feeding our animals to helping our children to bringing diapers. We were in desperate need for a long period of time, and we watched God's people be his hands and his feet. In this season, too, there's many of us, particularly in the United States, that have ample food supply still and aren't going hungry at all. And there are others where, we're saying we're all in this together as we go through fighting this virus and trying to curb it stealing more lives. But we in America are not feeling what refugee camps are in other parts of the other parts of the world, or even smaller countries in Africa. Or there isn't a fair comparison because we're in these beautiful homes and we have clean running water and we have food. But God's provisions come from his people. And I think my prayer for you today and for me today is just to start to listen. He says when we start to listen to him about where and how he wants us to be his provision, the helping of his provision. So that brings me into Jesus Calling. So as we go into that, Sarah Young, you can download that app, Jesus Calling, or order her book. It says, listen to me continually. I have much to communicate to you. So many people and situations in need of prayer. That's so true for today, right now. He says, I'm training you to set your mind on me more and more, tuning out distractions, through the help of my Spirit. Like this morning, tuning out the distractions with the help of His Spirit, He says, walk with me in holy trust, responding to my initiatives rather than trying to make things fit into your plan. Like I do every morning, I go into my own plan. He says, I died to set you free. And that includes freedom from your compulsive planning. When your mind spins with a multitude of thoughts, you cannot hear my voice. He's trying to get us in tune to His voice in this season. A mind preoccupied with planning pays homage to the idol of control. Turn from this idolatry back to me. Listen to me and live abundantly. We talked in the past about Him taking, our idols, things that we put in place of Him, things we go to besides Him, bringing us back right to Him. So let today be that a gratitude of His provisions for us, and then listening to Him about how He wants to use us to bring His provisions to others. Google and send off. Pray. Sit with Him and pray. What do you want me to put my hand to? Whom do you want me to help with the abundance that you've given me? And let's see where He brings it and how far He brings it. Because He takes from one set of hands in an image bearer of His, and He gives to another image bearer of His. That's today's piece of peace. May your ears be in tune to Him all throughout the day. Have a good day.